Welcome everybody to the Copilot Show and Tell. For those of you that haven't been before, Show and Tell is really where we give you a warts and all view of what we're working on and what we've learned along the way. And hopefully at the end there'll be an opportunity for you to comment or to feedback. If you've got any questions as we go along, do drop them in the chat and we'll try and pick them up either during the course of the meeting, or if we can't do that, then we'll do it follow up after the event. And as usual, we'll put the slides and the recording of this in the onto Bucksnet later this afternoon, hopefully. So today's agenda. I'm just going to run very quickly through a few new things that are coming along. A few new things that are coming along in Copilot. We've then got a presentation from Shelley Boyer, who's going to talk about her experience of using Copilot with PowerPoint, which I think will be interesting. Tony's going to introduce us to some of the new things that Microsoft are working on, and I think on Microsoft Flight School, which I'm not entirely sure what it is, but Tony's very excited about it. So hopefully he'll be along in a moment and be able to talk to us. And then at the end we'll do a bit of a Q&A. So marching quickly on. So what's coming in Copilot? So this has really come from a Microsoft letter that came out 3 or 4 days ago. So some of the things that I'm going to talk about here are not actually live in our version yet. They're currently being rolled out, but you can hopefully expect to see them in the coming days and weeks. I've just kept it down to 4 or 5 things. There are quite a few technical background things that don't necessarily mean an awful lot to us as users, but will obviously more important to the kind of the administrators and to IT. But the things that we will start to notice coming out. So the first thing is that they've got this term grounding Copilot, which they've used a few times. So the new thing they've got is ground Copilot prompts in work content when using Copilot in Word, Outlook, Excel, and PowerPoint. When they say ground Copilot, what they're talking about is that in future, Copilot in these other applications such as Word will have some context about your work environment. So currently, if you use Word in PowerPoint, sorry, if you use Word in Word or Outlook or whatever, it only can help you with the particular document you're working on. So it'll help you with drafting, and it will help you change text, etc. But it can't answer questions about your emails or about other documents that are in the kind of SharePoint folder structure. That's going to change. So kind of imminently, it'll have more context about things that you're working on. Similarly, the way that Outlook works, it's same thing really. I think they've kind of announced the same thing under 2 different titles, but essentially Copilot in Outlook will also have this kind of broader access to not just write emails, but to get more information about the context, etc., which should be useful. Something that they're going to develop or going to be implementing, we've talked about this on Show and Tells previously, and that's the ability to restrict SharePoint search to specific SharePoint sites, not necessarily a global search of everything. And I think the reason behind this is that SharePoint, I think our SharePoint site had somewhere over 1 million documents, I think I heard somebody say, and inevitably there will be things in there that perhaps haven't got the right security level attached to them, etc. So it's a way of restricting where Copilot pulls its information from. Now I don't know if it's a global setting that will apply to everybody that's using SharePoint will have the same settings, or if it can be separated by teams, or indeed, if it's one of these features that's going to evolve over time. And I'm sure more information will come out about that. But interesting to know that they are looking at kind of ring fencing some of the SharePoint folder structure. Copilot in Excel, there's some new, this has got a double-edged sword here. So there's some new ways to engage with Copilot in Excel, which I'm not going to go through because it's a whole different area and I don't really understand it. But so that's the good news. The bad news is that there's a preview version of Copilot that's currently running in Excel, but the the full version, I believe, is not now going to be rolled out until June. I think it's slipped back a couple of months, which is a bit of a shame. But there is definitely very active work going on in Excel at the moment. So if you're a big Excel user, you may need to just hold your breath a little bit longer before you get the full features. But it is coming, and there's quite a lot of information on the web about it if you want to have a look. And then the final thing that I was going to mention was what they call Copilot graph-grounded chat in Microsoft 365 mobile. So it's the same as I was saying earlier about with Word Excel, but now the version of 365 chat in the mobile app is also going to be have that work context around it, so it'll be able to access files that you have access to on the wider corporate network. So Copilot on mobile, there are a couple of ways of using Copilot in mobile. Two screenshots here. So the one on the left is using the Edge browser. So this is on an Apple iOS system. I've used it here. I'm assuming the same is going to apply to Android. But so on the Edge browser, you can see on the left there, you already have the ability to switch between work and web. So it has that context. On the Microsoft 365 app, this is a much broader app. It gives you access to things like Word. You can browse your files on OneDrive, that kind of thing from here. In that little red box that is currently empty, you're going to get a similar switch there. So on the screenshot that came through from Microsoft, it shows work and web as a toggle. I'm not seeing it on my version of the M365 app yet, but it's coming. And what that means is that you've got a lot of flexibility. If you're away from the office, if you're out and about with customers, etc., you can still have the power of Copilot at your fingertips through your mobile device, providing you've got it properly authenticated through the different security features that we apply. That's what I was going to say really about new stuff that's coming along, but I thought it'd be interesting to know. I'm now going to hand over to Shelley. Shelley's going to talk us through her experience of using Copilot with PowerPoint. Now, Shelley can't join us live today. She's not around, but she has very kindly recorded a presentation for us. So, with everything crossed, I'm hoping that you'll be able to hear this.
Good morning, I'm Shelley Bowyer and I am the manager of the Children's and Adults Applications team in IT, and I have been managing 2 trials on Copilot for adult social care and children's social care. But today I will be talking about how to use PowerPoint and hand in hand with Copilot. I've made several presentations over the last couple of months using PowerPoint, some for training purposes, teaching process mapping, some for fun, like the Christmas quiz, but also more serious ones like presentations for local authorities. Most recently, I created a presentation for a group of 40 10-year-olds as part of Science Week for my local school. I'm going to explain how I made the presentation with help of Copilot and also some of the cool features that you can use when you try to use Copilot and PowerPoint together. The presentation I will use as an example is the one that I actually made for Science Week. And we're going to look at how to explain it to 10-year-olds. I started my presentation by using Copilot, which I thought was a good connection and it showed the synergy. One of the first steps I took was to open a blank document. Once you have your blank document, I then use the Copilot Create a Presentation option. So in the prompt, I simply put I deliberately had chosen a simple prompt because I wanted to see what Copilot could produce. I also didn't have a clear idea of what I wanted to talk about or cover in my presentation. So I thought the best way to get some guidance was to ask Copilot itself. And it gave me quite a generic presentation that was actually useful because it had some basic concepts. And I have to be honest here, this is probably the most simple version of the presentation that has so far been created. Generally, they are about 5 slides long. I think the longest I had was 10, so to go from 2 is a bit unfortunate. I actually did this quite a few times so that I could see what the different results would be. As most of you probably will have experienced, Copilot doesn't generate exactly the same thing every time. So I wanted to pick between all of the different presentations that I had created, and I then saved a couple to choose the best parts from them. So as I believe that that would actually get me a more comprehensive picture with a better layout. My main problem though was I didn't like the design. If you look at this one, it's very white, it's very neutral, and I actually found it a bit boring and a bit sterile. I quite liked the image on the front, which does move, but overall it was just too bland. So my next step was to go back into the blank presentation. And it was here that I was going to use one of the Microsoft themes. So pressing the More Themes button, there's quite a range of different decks that you can choose from. And I picked the tech presentation because I wanted to use the theme as it gave a more professional look with a consistent design and a clear concept throughout. These slide decks vary, but they can give you various slides that you can use with different templates. I've chosen my tech presentation theme and here it is. Looking through, you can see that there are various templates. So here we have a agenda and then we have an introduction, and these different templates give you a sort of backbone as to how you can put together your presentations. There's also a nice cover slide to start off with. They have some slides that show things like timelines, which are useful for giving a clear overview of what your presentation or project is about, and it breaks it down into what happens into each time period. There are different kinds of slides that you can use and you can write over them. Deleting some of them or copying them, depending on what you need, but they give you a good structure to actually start with. After I opened my new blank presentation, I started to look at the different sections that I wanted to use in my presentation. One of the headings I picked was a brief history of AI. For that, I checked what I already had, but I decided in this case I would use the prompt to create a slide. So, as you can see, by using this prompt in this template, it generated a picture with some information about AI, all in the same theme. So it looked very professional and consistent, and it also added additional information. So some of the original presentations that I generated through Copilot were very stark in the information that it gathered, and as you can see here, this one's quite a bit more comprehensive. I also asked AI Copilot to create a slide on an AI quiz and give me the correct answers for that quiz as well. The quiz I got was far too complex for 10-year-olds, so I had to make my own questions and utilise some of them that were there and make them simpler. But it gave me the general idea of what I wanted. My only problem was that I didn't like the picture that it chose. I'd already used it somewhere else. So I decided to change the image at that point. But I also thought I would like to look at the design because after a while all the slides looked the same. So I used the designer option, which is next to the Copilot button. And it gives you the option to use various different designs. You got the same picture, but you could also change that. It's still in the same color scheme, but it gives you different styles to it with a different feel. It can give you smaller pictures. It can also give you small icons, which help to break up the picture. It can present things in different ways with lists which appeal to others, and it has a lot of variety overall, breaking up presentations so people don't get bored while it stays professional at the same time. Another way to spice up the slide deck is to actually ask Copilot to animate it for you. So here you go. Here's an example of an animation. It will give you some simple animation options with words like sliding in or having the picture come in after it. But again, it adds some diversity to your slide deck. PowerPoint and Copilot also have some additional prompts that can help you with creating more slides and grouping them. I've gone back to my original presentation because I want to show you the additional prompts that are in Copilot and PowerPoint that can help you with creating more slides and grouping them together. So down here at the bottom, we have a View Prompts icon. I'm going to click on that, and then we've got a number of different types of prompts that we can use. So the first one we're going to go for Ask. This can give you some examples of the questions to ask, such as give me specific examples. And we're going to select that one now. And here I'm just going to put in leadership. So here we go. It suggested I could add a section on how AI can be used in business and leadership. It's also looked at suggesting different case studies of companies that have successfully implemented AI. So you can see how this tool could be used. If we go back down to our view prompts, we're now going to try the edit button. This can help you to organise your presentation. It can cluster the slides into different sections and add cover pages to make it look clearer and more professional. On the side here is a breakdown of what it's added and how it's grouped it together. And over here you can see some of the slides in action. So we've got an introduction to AI. Further down we have types of AI, ethics, as well as the future. Now you might like these slides because they help again to break it up, or you might decide that actually we don't need those slides, or you can even just move them around. Another option is to use the understand. And this is quite good if you have existing presentations, especially the summarization button. It can give you a summary of what the actual presentation contains and what's important. You can ask it to select the key slides in the deck as well. So this function and the selecting key slides is very similar to the function that you can find in Copilot in Teams and Word. So here we go, we've got a brief summary of the deck. As always, it should be pointed out that AI generated content may be incorrect and you should probably look through the slides yourself. I'm now going to choose the key slide option. So Copilot has selected this as the key slide. Of course, it's not always accurate because it depends on what Copilot thinks is a key slide. Although I'm a bit worried that it's picked artificial intelligence as the key slide, and it's done this multiple times. So I don't know what that means for the future, but there you go. This was just a quick overview of how you could use Copilot in PowerPoint, and I hope it helps you in all of the presentations that you design going forward.
Well, thanks for that, Shelley. I know you're not with us, but that doesn't sound right. I know you're not in attendance in this meeting, but yeah, thanks for that. And there's some really interesting features there that I've never delved into in PowerPoint, so I've certainly found it useful, and I hope others have too. Right, I'm now going to hand over to Tony. So Tony, this originally I called this slide "How other councils are using Copilot," but I know that you actually have things to talk to us about Microsoft Flight School and all sorts of stuff. So I'll just hand over to you, and you could roll with it however you wish.
Cheers, Jez. Morning, Copilot fans. Yeah, I was just going to take people through. You would have heard about Prompt Buddy, but we also, on a local authority call last week, saw something called Flight School. So I've got the recording. I was just going to show you what Flight School looks like. So I'm going to start off with Prompt Buddy, which will be in the Centre of Excellence site tomorrow. So you will be able to see it and you will be able to have a play. Now, I don't know if you've seen this already, so just close that, get rid of that if I can. Why have I got two screens there? Hang on, let's try that again. Is it because I'm already Teams? There you go. Right. Has that come through okay? Yeah, it looks like it's come through okay. So don't go looking for it at the moment because Paul's literally going to put it into the Centre of Excellence site tomorrow. Yeah, but the whole idea of Prompt Buddy, the clues in the name, is something that Stuart read out and a few you would have met if you were at the training at the Oculus, who's a superstar, has been working on at Microsoft, and we now have a copy of it, as do all local authorities. And the clues in the name, it's where you can go to see all the great prompts that people have submitted. So you can select a particular product, be it M365, it would be the Copilot chat, or it be Outlook, or whatever it might be, and people can go in and vote for their respective prompts. So if I see the current top prompt, which has only got a couple of votes in it because there's only a couple of us who got access to it, if I select that top one, for instance, what it does is open up what the prompt is, and it tells you a little bit about the prompt, and indeed you can put any output if you like in there as well. So it's really a very neat way for us and all of you to start to submit all your prompts, the ones that really work for you. If I want to submit a prompt, it's nothing more than going in, clicking on submit a prompt, put in the title, describe what the prompt does, and then put the prompt details in. And as I say, if you want to attach any output or anything so people can see what it looks like, obviously not sharing information of a confidential nature, you can do. But you'll see they've got an ever-growing list of products as well. So I can search by a particular Office application if I wanted to. I can search by department if we set it up that way. I think that's something we need to look at. But very simplistically, there's going to be a simple way for us to, and for you to submit your favorite prompts against any particular product, and for people to vote and say, hey, I really like that one, and you can vote on it. Now, they do get updated. on a regular basis. It's not like every day. There's things, talking to Paul who's around the corner, there's a flurry of activity, then it might go quiet. But Paul hasn't been updating 30 prompts. I'm sure he would do if he could, but those are coming down on high from Microsoft. So we are locked into getting a feed from Microsoft, which will automatically update. So I suggest you keep dropping by, because there will be prompts that are regularly added in. So very simple, but a great tool and a great way of storing and you seeing what the latest prompts are by product and submitting your own prompts. I've only had a quick play, but it's all very quite straightforward, but hopefully relatively straightforward. And unless there's any questions, as I say, tomorrow it will be on the Centre of Excellence site, so you'll all have access, have a play, look at the latest prompts, and if you've got a prompt you've been using or you've seen I've nicked some from LinkedIn, let's just start acquiring them and sharing them. So unless any questions, I shall then move on to flight school. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, but I've been using Designer for PowerPoint, trying to get Designer to come up with slides that don't include planes and pilots and things like that. But I think we have to give up now, because Microsoft is developing along that. Are developing products maximizing the plane, and the flight school is a great example of that. So yeah, that's come through the ether, and I've turned the sound on. We, as you might know, Bucks and Somerset co-chair the local authority Copilot 365 subgroup. So we meet every month. The latest is there are 62 councils with M365, which is up 14 since last month. So the numbers are creeping up. I think mainly because Microsoft have removed that 300 user limit. But we did get a sneak preview again from Stuart of Flight School, which I'm going to stop now because Stuart can explain it best. This isn't being released. It is described as imminently imminent. Everything in Microsoft is imminent, which means it's coming shortly. But this is described as imminently imminent, so I'm expecting to get it in the next couple of weeks. But have a listen and see what you think. I think it looks pretty damn cool, actually. Oh, God, and it's gone. Will agree with this. We now have having got the video lined up, it then took me to the wrong place. But if I kick off 140,
you can always take those out if you want. Minimo.
Right.
Another one that I just wanted to share and give you a little preview in is something else that we've been working on, or I've been working on, called Copilot Flight School. So it's not available right now, but I'm working to make this available to customers. So I just wanted to give you a preview, because this has gone down a storm internally, and with where we've tried this out at events and things like this. So Copilot Flight School is a prompt coaching tool, that helps you to craft better prompts. It's got a bit of a Top Gun theme. So basically what you do is you go in, there are different challenges here. So let's say that we went in and did the Thunder Challenge, which is a word challenge. It gives you a scenario and a problem. So it says, we're looking to hire a senior project manager to run the product launch of a new tablet device, blah, 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 blah. And what generally happens is, and this is certainly what we saw internally, is people go create a job description for a project manager who knows about tablets. And we'd say to them, do you think that's a good prompt? And they go, yeah, I think that's a pretty good prompt. But then what happens is that this then goes into your own Azure OpenAI. So this is all in your control here. And it assesses that prompt against the 4-part guidance to try and help them, to coach them towards the ideal prompt. Because as I say, when we spoke to people, they went, yeah, I think that's a pretty good prompt. But one of the challenges, and I think this is what lots of people experience, is when people use Copilot or any AI, there you go, you can see, so that actually only scored 10% because we needed to put more stuff in the goal. We didn't say it was a senior project manager. We didn't talk about a device launch. We didn't talk about any of the challenges that have come along with this. We didn't mention any sources of things like qualifications, experience, company standards. We didn't talk about how long we wanted to be, how much detail, all of those kind of things. So what we find is that people kind of have a go, especially with Copilot and things like Word, and they kind of go, and you go, oh, how did you get on with Copilot in Word? And you go, yeah, it's all right. It was all right. And that's because they're putting in a very high level prompt. So this tool really helps to encourage people to do better prompting. And
that's what we saw. I must be interested in people's thoughts, but certainly as a group last week, there were lots of thumbs up. I don't know if some people on the call looks really good. And there is a backdrop here, which we all know, which is we have to get much smarter with prompts. Equally, we've passed down frustration. We're hearing both from Bucks, but also other councils, that prompts don't always work. They're not consistent. So we're pushing Microsoft on that front. But this part of the mitigation here, which you've heard from Stuart, is we all need to get better in the construct of our prompts. And I think one of the lessons we've all learned is you just got to really push the boundaries to see how far it would go. So don't know when that's going to be released, but again, when it is, we'll put it in the centre of excellence, and folks can have a play. And I suppose the only other thing, Jez, conscious of time, is there's a case study come out of Barnsley, which I'll put in the chat. I suspect it's probably been circulated already, but in case people have missed it, I'll put that in the chat, because Barnsley have got 2,300 licenses. So they've gone big. So we're really interested in what they're up to and how they've scaled it out. And short summary on those 62 councils, what we're seeing is there's a tranche with 300 licenses. Everyone is at the ROI stage. So just a reminder here, we really need your ROI, your stories, so that we can identify the cost benefits and the cashable savings if we're going to move off this 300 limit. So it's critical that we do that. We heard from Coventry last week, who had 300 and have gone down to 100. But they're now making service areas submit a business case with a proven cashable saving, and they expect to scale up from that. So that's an interesting approach, but it's designed to make sure they bank the money. We've heard others who are looking to move from 300 to move up between 500 and 1500. So there's a real kind of a range of LAs doing different things, but all of them are trying to find the money, and that's the summary of where we are. So with that, I hope they found that useful. I'll stop there, conscious of time, unless there's any questions. But you know where I am as well.
Thanks for that, Tony. That was really interesting. The flight school, I can see the use for that. So that was, I wondered where he was going when he started on the Top Gun theme, but the penny dropped once you got into the presentation. So that was very good. And I can see Prompt Buddy has also come on enormously since I last looked at it a month ago. You know, it's amazing how much it changes in that time.
Yeah, I think the only downside, which you mentioned, is Excel. And then any feedback for the Microsoft UK folks is the US have been very quiet about the delay. I think we're not surprised, because AI doing numbers is difficult. So we're not surprised, but it did catch the UK folks by surprise as well. But they're trying to find out more info.
Okay, well, thanks for that. I'm conscious of time. People are starting to drop off for other meetings. We haven't got a lot of time for Q&A, but if anybody has any questions or comments, then please do drop them in the chat. It's become a bit of a general thread for conversations kind of between meetings as well. So yeah, do drop any questions in the chat, and we'll try and pick them up. Just a reminder that there isn't one in 2 weeks' time. If it's in your calendar, then please ignore that. The next one is a month from today. And with that, wish you all a good afternoon or good day, and speak soon. Many thanks.